Friends, we will make a beginning with the procedure of assessment. What is this procedure of assessment? So far we have discussed what? Filing of income tax return. Now, one should be clear with how many types of assessment possibly could be there. One is a summary assessment. What is a summary assessment? You filed your income tax return, they gave an acknowledgement. Then of course, they may give you an intimation. They can give you an intimation. That intimation comes under which section, friends? 143(1). That intimation says what? This is the amount of tax that you require to pay, or this is the amount of the refund that we are giving. If there is no refundable amount or payable amount, whatever the acknowledgement that you are getting on filing of the return, that shall be deemed to be an intimation. So that is what we say summary assessment. Then next is the scrutiny regular assessment. That is, whenever your case is taken up and they want to examine your books of accounts and the documents that you filed in support of the claim for exemptions and deductions, and check the correctness of all this and then accept or reject whatever you stated in your return of income, then they will call for your books of accounts and the documents and the information. For doing the scrutiny assessment under 143(3), they will issue a notice under section 143(2). Of course, friends, if you don't cooperate for the notice which they issued under section 143(2), then based on the information at their possession, they can do the best judgment assessment. For best judgment assessment also, friends, please do remember, they need to issue a notice. Of course, it is not something in a pleading manner. The very purpose of that particular notice is to give an opportunity of being heard. For that, they will give a notice. That is about the best judgment assessment. Then the other assessments are what? The other assessments are reassessment under section 147. To do that, you need to get a notice under section 148. Then, at a later date, if they found that still there is undisclosed income, they can take up your case for search and may do the block assessment. For that also, even after they make the search and found undisclosed income, they will ask you to file an income tax return. So like this, you have got summary assessment, regular assessment, scrutiny assessment, best judgment assessment. Of course, if you see in the definition given for the regular assessment includes both assessment under 143(3) and 144. For our practical convenience, we are splitting it into two. One is scrutiny assessment. Generally, scrutiny is under section 143(3), and once cooperation is not coming forth from the SSE, case can be taken up for the best judgment assessment. And then reassessment under 147 and block assessment. Now, before doing all this, they can very well issue a notice to you under section 142. Friends, this 142 notice is what? This you call it as inquiry before the assessment. What you call it as? Inquiry before the assessment. Write down section 142. Section 142. Inquiry before the assessment. Inquiry before the assessment. See, point of interest here is, what is the objective with which a notice will be issued to you under section 142(1). Friends, here you can observe 3 subclauses. 3 subclauses. 1, 2, 3. Try to understand what we are trying to address. A notice can be issued to you under section 142(1) if you are not filing the return within the due date specified under section 139(1). They may require you to file an income tax return by issuing a notice under section 142(1). Okay, understanding is clear. If I don't file my return of income, they can very well issue a notice under section 142(1) and can require me to file an income tax return. Then what are the other purposes for which they can issue a notice under section 142(1)? The other 2 purposes are, let us suppose I already filed my income tax return. Still I can get a notice under section 142(1). What is the purpose? They may require me to produce the books of accounts. They may require me to produce the books of accounts. Not only of the relevant previous year, but also of the preceding previous years. In this context, please do remember, under this section 142(1), maximum number of years for which they can require me to produce the books of accounts is 3 years books of accounts. In addition to the relevant previous year books of accounts, they can ask me to produce 3 years books of accounts. Then, of course, they can also issue this particular notice under section 142(1) whenever they want some information regarding the assets and liabilities which are not shown in the balance sheet. Balance sheet what I have given to them as an SSE. In addition to that, what are all the assets and liabilities you have? That also they can ask, and for that particular purpose they can issue the notice under section 142(1). But friends, please do remember, under the income tax law, many places we found, wherever any act of the assessing officer possibly is going to harass, possibly is going to give a chance for the assessing officer to harass an assessee, there and all under the income tax law it is stated that assessing officer need to necessarily take the permission of the higher ups. That is, more than one brain, two brains are better. Is it for a genuine reason they are asking the information regarding the assets and liabilities which are not shown in the balance sheet, or just to harass the SSE? So that made the law to say that assessing officer can require the SSE to give the information regarding the assets and liabilities which are not shown in the balance sheet, but for asking the SSE to give such information, he should, that is, assessing officer should take the prior approval of the Joint Commissioner. So these are the three purposes for which a notice under section 142(1) may be issued is a point, and 142(1) is what? It is an inquiry before the assessment. So write down these three important points. That is, a notice under section 142(1) may be issued for the following: A, in case if the SSE failed to file the return within the time prescribed under section 139(1), within the time prescribed under section 139(1), B, to ask the SSE to produce the books of accounts and documents, to produce the books of accounts and documents note. Through this notice, assessing officer can ask for only 3 years books of accounts. Can ask for only 3 years books of accounts. Then friends, C, to ask for the information regarding all the assets and liabilities of the SSE note. A prior approval note. A prior approval of a joint commissioner. A prior approval of a joint commissioner is required whenever assessing officer is asking for information related to assets and liabilities not shown in the balance sheet, not shown in the balance sheet. Then try to understand and then write also all the noteworthy points. Many questions can come. Like, the first point of understanding that you need to have is, up to what time this notice can be issued? Is there any time limit prescribed for notice to be issued under section 142(1)? Friends, try to understand 142(1) is what? It is an inquiry before the assessment. So this notice under section 142(1) will come along with what? Can come along with a notice under section 143(2) or a show cause notice under section 144 or a notice under section 148 whenever your case they want to take up for regular assessment, that is reassessment under section 147, or a notice requiring you to file your income tax return in respect of the block period in such cases. So, as it is, law does not prescribe any time limit within which only this notice can be issued. One thing we are all sure of, 142(1) is an inquiry before the assessment. Of course, there we learn what is the purpose or the objective with which this notice is issued. First purpose is, if you have not filed your income tax return within the time allowed under section 139(1), then they can issue a notice under section 142(1) requiring you to file an income tax return. Then, other than this particular first purpose, any other purpose falls under what? Before they commence the assessment, whether it be a scrutiny assessment or a best judgment assessment or a reassessment or a block assessment, they, in case if they want to make some inquiry, if they want to see some books of accounts and documents of you, or if they want some details of the assets and liabilities of you, they will be requiring you to produce all that. For asking you under which section they have to issue a notice, they will be asking you all this information through, what is it? A notice issued under section 142(1). That is the reason why section 142(1), when we started, what we said, it is an inquiry before the assessment. It could be a regular assessment, or it could be a best judgment assessment, or it could be a, what is it, notice under section 148, or it is a notice under section 153A. Along with all these notices, one more notice under 142(1) will come. Those notices are to inform you that we are going to start this kind of the assessment proceeding. For the purpose of this assessment, a notice must be given. For the purpose of obtaining the information, documents and books of accounts, they require to issue a notice under section 142(1). So, as it is, there is no time limit prescribed for issuing a notice under section 142(1). Only thing that I can tell you is, they have to issue this particular notice after the time for filing the return under 139(1) is elapsed, then only they can. No over enthusiasm. That is, still there is a time to file the return under section 139(1). ड्यू डेट इज देयर, नहीं मैं शुरू कर देते बोल के नहीं करना. एक बार ड्यू डेट हो गया समझो, आप रिटर्न डाले सो, देन फॉर इंफॉर्मेशन पर्पस दे कैन इश्यू 142(1). If you are not filing the return for the purpose of asking you to file the return of income, they can issue the notice under section 142(1). Yes, सुनने में कंफर्ट है. How to remember is only the task. Only by your writing you can remember. Write down. The law does not make side heading time limit for issuing a notice, time limit for issuing a notice. That is, the law does not provide any time limit for issuing a notice under section 142(1). Under section 142(1). See, try to understand one small intricate point here. What is the intricate point? When we studied returns of income, there what we said, friends? There what we said? A return can be filed belatedly. Within what time? Within 1 year from the end of the relevant assessment year. Now, I failed to file my return even within 1 year from the end of the relevant assessment year. So, can the assessing officer issue a notice under section 142(1) requiring me to file an income tax return after the expiry of 1 year from the end of the relevant assessment year? That is not the purpose or the objective of 142(1). There is no time limit prescribed. Yes. Time limit is not prescribed for what? For obtaining the information you are issuing a notice. टाइम लिमिट कुछ भी नहीं है, क्योंकि जब भी आप असेसमेंट करते, रेगुलर असेसमेंट नहीं तो ब्लॉक असेसमेंट नहीं तो रीअसेसमेंट, यू रिक्वायर सम इंफॉर्मेशन. सो फॉर दैट इंक्वायरी बिफोर द असेसमेंट के लिए 142(1) में नोटिस दे सकते. बट बिकॉज देयर इज नो टाइम लिमिट विच इज प्रिस्क्राइब्ड, कैन दिस बी टेकन फॉर asking the assessee to file the return after the expiry of the 1 year from the end of the relevant assessment year? That is not the purposive intent of 142(1). Write down. That is, but as per the general provision, a return cannot be filed. After the expiry of 1 year from the end of relevant assessment year. So now this discussion gives rise to a question. What is it? Sir, now you are saying that indirectly there is a prohibition to issue a notice under section 142(1) for asking the SSE to file the return after the expiry of 1 year from the end of the relevant assessment year. That means if an SSE failed to file a return within 1 year from the end of the relevant assessment year, our income tax department भी सो गया समझो. So that means you want to leave the SSE scot free. That means you want to leave the SSE scot free. Let him not file the return. Let you not make any assessment. Friends, that is not the intention or the meaning which we want to convey. एक दरवाजा बंद हुए समझो. One window got closed, n number of windows gets opened for income tax law. ये दरवाजा बंद हुए तो दूसरा दरवाजा क्या है? 144 में बेस्ट जजमेंट असेसमेंट कर सकते उन्हों. नथिंग स्टॉप्स हिम. और बाद में क्या है? जब हम रीअसेसमेंट अंडर सेक्शन 147 when we are going to study, we will study a point. Reassessment includes assessment and reassessment. इसके पहले assessment नहीं हुए तो the case still can be taken up for reassessment. Generally, layman understanding of reassessment is what? Reassessment means first assessment should get completed, then the reassessment comes. But your understanding about the reassessment should not be that. Even if initially the case is not assessed under 143 or 144, still the case can be taken up for a reassessment under section 147. Right? See, slightly let me deviate from this point. A student asked once, Chairman Board of Studies, sir, can you please educate us on what is the process of recounting? Right. Generally, recounting means what? We will count whatever the marks which are allotted to the, what is it, student, and then we will see whether correct totaling happened or not. Then the question raised is, sir, let us suppose, see, after all, paper valuers are also human beings. They might not have valued a particular question. It's not a question of they have valued, they have not valued a question. Or having valued the question, they forget to allot the marks. That means your recounting process is not going to give any justification with respect to that. Then the gentleman gave the answer. That is the whole lot of thing that is happening in the recounting exercise. Please remember, yes, officially we say there is no revaluation. But whenever you are applying for the recounting, yes, we are not again valuing. But those questions for which valuation has not happened, we are valuing. are having valued, marks are not allotted, we are giving it and doing all justice to the students. That's the reason why you see, once upon a time when we were studying CA course, we don't know whether our application reached there or not, whether they are taking up our case for recounting or not. मगर दोस्तों आज क्या जमाना पे आ गए हम. Every day what is the work that is happening at the institute level is being given. These many applications are received, these many applications are completed. Like that they are giving the information, right? So all this discussion we are making to keep in your mind. For requiring the SSC to file the return, a notice cannot be issued after the expiry of 1 year from the end of the relevant assessment year, because law as it is prohibited. Because belatedly also you can file the return maximum 1 year from the end of the relevant assessment year. So 142(1) is not a recourse whereby SSC can happy well ask the testing officer to send a notice under 142(1) so that right royally he comes and files a return after the expiry of the 1 year. That is not the purposive intent. But at the same time, because the return is not there or the time limit for asking the SSC to file the return is expired, he will be left scot-free. That is not the purpose. The case can be well taken up for the best judgment assessment. Write down. That is, if the SSC has not furnished the return, if the SSC has not furnished the return within the time allowed, under section 142(1), under section 142(1), under section 139(1), not 142(1), under section 139(1), comma, it is not mandatory. It is not mandatory for the assessing officer, to serve notice, under section 142(1), under section 142(1), he can very well initiate the procedure given under section 144, that is best judgment assessment. That is best judgment assessment. Next important point is, for requiring the SSC to produce the books of accounts oblique information regarding the assets and liabilities, notice under section 142(1), can be issued at any time. Issued at any time. Normally, normally, notice under section 142(1), normally the notice under section 142(1) is issued along with, one, scrutiny notice under section 143(2), scrutiny notice under section 143(2), number 2, show cause notice under section 144, show cause notice under section 144, C or 3, notice under section 148, and then notice under section 153A. Notice under section 153A. Then friends, try to understand the point. What are the implications in case if the SSE is not responding to the notice which is issued under section 142(1), the case can be taken up for the best judgment assessment. Write this point. If reply is not given to the show cause notice, if the reply is not given for the notice, if the reply is not given to the notice, not show cause notice, notice under section 142(1), then case can be well taken up. Case can be well taken up for best judgment assessment. For best judgment assessment. Then friends, one important point that should go into your mind is, usually when the assessing officer takes up the case for the best judgment, he will issue a show cause notice requiring the SSE to tell why his case cannot be taken up under the best judgment assessment. But such a show cause notice is required to be given when? Only if the SSE is properly responding under section 142(1), then it becomes obligatory on the part of the assessing officer to issue a show cause notice under section 144 to take up the case for the, what is it, best judgment assessment. Of course, under what circumstances best judgment assessment can be taken up? There are 3 or 4 reasons why the case will be taken up for the best judgment assessment. And whenever the best judgment assessment happens, a show cause notice must be given. But if you are not properly reacting to 142(1) notice, there is no obligation on the part of the assessing officer whenever he takes up the case for best judgment to give you a show cause notice. This point you should remember. Then I move to the next issue. What is that issue, friends? That is audit under 142(2A2), 142(2D), special audits. Write down. Special audits. Special audits. Friends, generally listen this particular special audit. Specific points we will write. How special audit under 142(2)A differs from, what is it, tax audit under section 44AB. See, first of all, what for SSC is asked to undergo the special audit under section 142 2A. ये बच्चों का खेल नहीं है, क्योंकि एटलीस्ट अर्लियर whenever the assessing officer is angry on the SSC, they used to issue a, what is it, this special audit requirement and all. But then in those days, Chief Commissioner of Income Tax will decide who should be the auditor and what should be the fees to be paid to him by the SSC only. But today central government has to pay the remuneration to that particular auditor. So whenever the government need to pay, they will be double careful. तो ये बच्चों का खेल नहीं है, or they can order this just to harass the SSC. So try to understand for what reason special audit under 142 2A will be ordered. At this juncture, please do remember, even if your books of accounts are being audited by a chartered accountant under section 44AB, still the assessing officer can require you to undergo this particular special audit. You can't say, since already a chartered accountant audited under 44AB, you can't ask me to again get my accounts audited under 142 2A. Not possible. So here what is stated, if at any stage of the assessment proceedings before the assessing officer, if the assessing officer is of the opinion that having regard to the complexities in the accounts of the SSC and having regard to the interest of the revenue, it is necessary to get the accounts audited, then he may direct the SSC to get the accounts audited. So two things is what? Having regard to the complexities involved in that particular accounts. In case if the assessing officer feels in the best interest of the revenue, necessarily these accounts are to be audited once again under 142 2A, he will direct the SSC to undergo the special audits. Of course, whenever he is asking the SSC to undergo the special audit under 142 2A, first an opportunity of being heard must be given. Then friends, please remember, assessing officer can ask the SSC to undergo the special audit only when the assessment proceedings are pending. Just like that, I saw Harita in the vegetable market, not vegetable market. I saw Harita in Chandana Brothers purchasing a very big gold necklace. I can't just like that order, Harita, you please undergo the tax audit, special audit बोल के मैं नहीं बता सकते वैसा. मेरे सामने वो assessment proceedings pending होना. For that purpose, I can ask for. So one important thing you please write down, that is the direction under section 142 2A, the direction under section 142 2A to the SSC, to get his accounts audited can be issued only in case if the assessment proceeding is pending, only in case if the assessment proceeding is pending. See, assessment हो गया 143(3) में assessment हो गया, हरिता मैडम का assessment 143(3) में हो गया. अब बाद में हमारा वेंकट असेसिंग ऑफिसर को मिलके बताए, सर you have completed the assessment but I know that she has got undisclosed income. Better sir, you ask her to get her accounts special audited, then you yourself will come to know that there is an undisclosed income. Thaki, based on my report, you can open the reassessment proceedings under section 147. तो वेंकट साहब वैसा बोल के can I issue a notice, can I issue a direction to her to get her account special audited? Answer is no. Just to check whether the case is fit to be taken for 147, we can't ask the SSC to undergo special audits. The point that we want to communicate here is, the moment assessment proceeding got completed, subsequently you can't ask. Just to check whether there is still more undisclosed income. This 142(2)(a) can be resorted only when there is a pending proceeding before the assessing officer. And that too also when accounts involve some complex matter, and in the best interest of the revenue, the assessing officer can direct the SSC to undergo the special tax audits. Then friends, here also, before we ask the SSC to undergo the special tax audit, assessing officer need to take the approval of the Joint Commissioner. Earlier also I told, whenever assessing officer want to do something which goes against the interest of the SSC, and if there is a possibility of harassment, there and all the assessing officer necessarily need to take the approval of the higher up, that is a Joint Commissioner. That is, in this case it is a Chief Commissioner, not Joint Commissioner. So write down the point. The direction can be issued. The direction can be issued with the previous approval of Chief Commissioner or Commissioner. Chief Commissioner or Commissioner. Then of course they are to be audited by whom? Under this particular section also, only chartered accountants who are being nominated by the Chief Commissioner, they are only going to do the audit, and their audit fees is also fixed by whom? By the Chief Commissioner only. And ultimately who is going to make the payment? Payment is going to be done by the whom? Central government. And please do remember, even if the accounts got tax audited under 44AB, still the assessing officer can direct the SSC to undergo the special tax audits. Then one more important thing is, assessing officer suo motu can ask on his own, may require the SSC to get his accounts audited, or sometimes what may happen, friends, of course in practice it happens or not, doubtful, but in the law it is clearly stated, provided that the assessing officer may suo motu or on application made in this behalf by the assessee for any good or sufficient reasons. Extend the said period by such further period or periods as he may think fit. What is the point we would like to communicate is, yes, assessing officer will direct the assessee to undergo the special audit. Chief Commissioner will nominate a chartered accountant. That chartered accountant has to complete his audits within the time prescribed in that particular appointment. Let us suppose that auditor is taking more time to complete that particular audit. Can assessing officer can extend the time period? Yes, but not beyond what? Not beyond 180 days from the date the direction is received by the assessee. Sometimes even the assessee may request the assessing officer to extend the time which is given to the chartered accountant for good and sufficient reasons. ये क्या चीज है? Generally any fellow feels like what? Auditors to go as early as possible. Isn't it or not? Somebody comes to my office to get my books of accounts audited. What I personally feel? उनको बिठा के और ज्यादा देख लो और ज्यादा देख लो, कोई भी बोलते वैसा नहीं. But then the law says application for extension of the time given to the special auditor to complete the audit can also happen not only suo motu but also at the request of the assessee. Why? Because ऑडिटर साहब डिले में शुरू करे वो ऑडिट, तो उन्होंने खुद ही बोल देते किसको? हमारा एसएससी को, मेक एन एप्लीकेशन टू द असेसिंग ऑफिसर टू अलाउ मी सम मोर टाइम टू कंप्लीट योर ऑडिट, राइट? बट ऑल दिस इज नॉट relevant for you to write in the paper. The knowledge to this extent that whatever the time allowed to the that a special auditor to complete the audit, that can be well extended either suo motu by the assessing officer or on the application made by the SSC in this respect. Then friends, whenever on the basis of that particular tax audit report, special tax audit report, in case an action the assessing officer want to take against the SSC, again opportunity of being heard must be given. This is also another important point to be well remembered. Then friends, here with that most of the aspects with related to which are related to this particular 142 special tax audit we have completed. See, can an SSC make an appeal against this particular special tax audit report? The answer is, it is not an appealable situation. Tax audit, special tax audit report के against you can't make an appeal, but always chance is there to the SSC to make a writ petition or a special leave petition before the Supreme Court if he feels that something which Constitution gives a right or income tax law gives a right, that is being violated. Then he can, so write down fastly, that is, no appeal can be made against a direction issued under section 142 2A. Only recourse available to the SSC is challenging the validity under section 142 2A by filing a writ petition and SLP. Then friends, quickly try to understand, all these things are well available to you. You need not write. If there is a non-compliance with respect to 142.1 notice or 142 2A by the SSC, that is, whenever he is asked to file the return, he is not filing. Whenever he is asked to provide the books of accounts, he is not providing. Whenever he is asked to give the information regarding the assets and liabilities, he is not giving. Whenever we are asking him to get his accounts audited, he is not doing it. Then what is the consequential effect? Then case can be well taken up for the best judgment, and a penalty can be levied to the tune of 10,000 rupees, and a prosecution can be initiated, and the SSC may be put in jail, imprisonment for 1 year without fine or with fine. For every day the default continues, a minimum of 4 rupees, maximum of 10 rupees of the penalty can be levied along with the prosecution. Of course, before making best judgment and before levying the penalty, an opportunity of being heard must be given. But opportunity of being heard must be given only when the SSC is properly responding under section 142(1). So that one point you just write down, that is, failure to comply with notice issued under section 142(1) or direction given under section 142(2)(A case can be taken up for best judgment. And penalty can be levied to the tune of 10,000 rupees. Prosecution can happen